Northwest Politics, Picking Up the Pieces. Lawmakers look to do in a special session what they could not get done in June. They're trying to get a transportation bill over the finish line. I sit down with Senate Majority Whip Lou Frederick talking about what's different this time around. And
sanctuary cities are sanctuaries for criminals. Hard stop.
Portland lands on a list of sanctuary jurisdictions under scrutiny by the Trump administration. What are local organizations doing to help immigrants ahead of more possible crackdowns? Executive Director of Ecumenical Ministries of Oregon, Frank So, joins me to share his perspective and more on his organization's mission to help immigrants and refugees. Eye on Northwest Politics starts now. Thanks for joining us. This is Eye on Northwest Politics. I'm Ken Boddy. Let's get right to your top political headlines. 4 bills addressing mental health in Oregon are now law. Governor Kotek signed them on Wednesday. One changes the law around civil commitment, when a court can order a person to be placed in a treatment facility. It says a person is in need of treatment if they're a danger to themselves, others, or cannot perform basic tasks. The second invests $65 million in the state's treatment capacity, and a third bill allocates $6 million to help hire and keep treatment workers. The fourth invests $1 million into substance abuse prevention for young people. The Portland NAACP is condemning Portland Mayor Keith Wilson's order to end DEI language in city government. The mayor made the policy change last month to align with President Trump's executive orders and to preserve nearly $400 million in federal grants. Under the new executive order, programs and services cannot give preference to groups with, quote, protected class status based on things like race or gender. In an open letter to the mayor, Portland NAACP President James Posey says, quote, this moment calls for leadership that invests in building local capacity and resilience, not one that binds Portland's moral compass to the whims of federal funding. And President Trump is calling Intel CEO Lip Bhutan to resign. In a statement on Truth Social, President Trump said, quote, the CEO of Intel is highly conflicted and must resign immediately. There is no other solution to this problem. The post comes days after Arkansas Republican Senator Tom Cotton sent a letter to Intel's chairman raising concerns about Tan's investments in China. Tan was appointed as CEO of Intel in March. Intel employs about 22,000 people across 4 campuses in Hillsborough. Governor Kotek has called a special session of the Oregon legislature starting August 29th. They will try to approve a transportation bill to reverse massive layoffs at the Oregon Department of Transportation and provide needed funding to local transportation agencies. A nearly $2 billion transportation package failed during the regular session amid concerns about big increases in taxes and fees. So what's different this time around? Senator Lou Frederick is the Senate Majority Whip representing North and Northeast Portland. Senator Frederick is chair of the Senate Education Committee, and he's on the Joint Ways and Means Committee as well. A former spokesperson for Portland Public Schools and a former television news reporter, Frederick has been in the legislature since 2009. Senator Lou Frederick, welcome back to Eye on Northwest Politics.
Thank you again. Nice to be here in person rather than on a Zoom.
Yes, we have Zoomed a lot in the past, haven't we? You've been through a few special sessions. What's happening behind the scenes now as we lead up to August 29th?
Well, I think a lot of things that are going on behind the scenes are basically people talking. We have the ability to start saying, okay, how do we get this through? We have some basic ideas, I think, that people are working on, but it's everyone talking. It's not an uncommon situation. I've been through quite a few special sessions, both as a legislator and as a reporter. So watching the special sessions take place, and when I worked for the Portland schools, because we ended up with struggles with financial issues that can be important, and this is a hugely important one.
What's your role as Senate Majority Whip?
Well, the whip is more for me discovering what people are thinking about, what folks are talking about in my caucus as well as outside the caucus. One of the things that I sort of want to make sure that people understand is we do talk with one another, Democrats and Republicans. There's not a free-for-all taking place every day. We had 3,900 or 3,600 bills that were introduced. We passed 700 of those bills, and 92% of those were with bills that were passed unanimously or with small opposition, or bipartisan, basically. So I have a lot of people talking, and so as a whip, I try to find out what's going on and talking with people and getting a sense of that and bringing that back to my caucus and the staff and other folks as we get a sense of how we can get some things done. And no one's going to agree on everything. And that's the case. So we try to figure out how that's going to work and what the concerns might be for different things.
How important is passing a transportation bill in this special session?
It's very important. We need to. There's a basic issue that we're struggling with, and that is statewide. We ended up having a tour of the state, of the Transportation Committee, and as we went around the state, there were two primary concerns. One was safety. One was and repair of roads and keep making sure that people are in fact safe on the roads. And then understanding how we figure out how we're going to make sure that we can pay for this on a long-term basis. The safety issue is a key one, and you can't have safety if you don't have people working on those roads. And if we don't have the money to have people working on those roads don't get repaired. So this is a very key element of what we're working with right now.
Republicans who rejected the transportation bill during the session say the taxes and fees associated with it were too high, and there was no accountability for ODOT. House Republican leader Christine Drazen was on this program, and she said as much. Take a listen.
So we're talking about an agency that has a culture that refuses to stay within their budget and produce on behalf of Oregonians. The Democrats' proposal didn't even take a glancing effort towards fixing that. They just simply doubled down on the highest tax increase in Oregon's history.
Does she have a point there?
No, simply because in fact there was a significant part of the bills that we were talking about that would audit and try to find out where the money was going. She and I do agree on one thing, and that is that in fact ODOT has had a serious problem of general confidence in the staffing and the administration and the approach that we've taken in terms of transportation in this state. And I've been talking about that for some time. If you cannot believe that ODOT is going to do something correctly, then you're going to stop. You're going to say, well, let's not do anything. We can't afford to not do anything. We, in fact, wanted to look at how we could fund the transportation issues in the state, and they are significant. This is not just a small amount, and they're significant for a couple of reasons. One is we rely on the gas tax in order to pay for roads and repairs and issues in terms of transportation. But as you know, we have electric vehicles and we have hybrid vehicles, and they don't use as much gas. And so they're still on the roads. In fact, many of the electric vehicles are heavier than the other vehicles. So they create even more of a problem on the roads. So we are struggling with how do we have enough resources to pay for things. And then we're struggling with who pays for these things. And there are other issues that are involved. So we've had to deal with a series of concerns about transportation in the state, and we have to figure out how we're going to work together on them. That is the key element. We have to put as many different approaches within that. That includes things like intermodal transportation between cities. If you want to get to a hospital or a medical issue, and you live in LeGrand and you need to get to Portland for that medical issues, there is not a public transportation aspect to that. You cannot get here easily. If you want to get from Tillamook over to the valley, you have a very few. Or up and down the coast, you have very few opportunities and options there. We need to figure out how to deal with that. And when it comes to just basic transportation, this is the kind of thing that we heard constantly as we were touring. if you want to go to Tillamook and you go to Highway 6 to Tillamook, if you go in the morning, if you come back at night, you're going to be dealing with possibly a slide of some form because that Highway 6 constantly is falling apart because of just where it is, the geography, and because we need to be able to repair it. You have to have people to do that. And if you don't have the people, the workers to do that, then you're having a problem. ODOT has to change. The part of the process that I understand is underway, part of the discussion that's clearly underway is how do we audit and keep track of what's going on with ODOT long term.
Senator, we've got less than a minute left, but the governor's proposal does include raising the gas tax, increasing registration and title fees, and also hiking the payroll tax for transit. How different is her proposal from what you voted on before?
It's a little different, and I understand that's still being worked out. Those individual issues are still being worked out. So I don't expect that I can speak to specifics on that particular proposal until I see the specifics, and quite frankly, I haven't yet. I know that people are talking. So we'll have more from the governor's proposal as she talks with the Speaker of the House and the President of the Senate and the administrator and the chairs of the Transportation Committee.
Senator Lou Frederick, good luck in the special session.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on Eye on Northwest Politics.
Thank you for inviting me.
Next, the president's crackdown on illegal immigration. It's having a major effect here in Portland, especially among organizations with a mission to help immigrants in this sanctuary city. My conversation with Ecumenical Ministries Executive Director Frank So is right after the break. This past week, the U.S. Department of Justice released its list of sanctuary cities, counties, and states, and of course, Portland and the state of Oregon were on that list. So what does that mean? Well, U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi says the DOJ will continue bringing litigation against sanctuary jurisdictions and work closely with the Department of Homeland Security to eradicate what she calls these harmful policies around the country. Against this backdrop, some local organizations are helping immigrants, including one led by my next guest. Frank So is Executive Director of Ecumenical Ministries of Oregon. One of their programs provides direct support for refugees and immigrants in the community. Mr. So has worked for then Vice President Kamala Harris, advising her on her trips outside the U.S. Before that, he worked for President Obama. He's also been a U.S. diplomat in Latin America, the Caribbean, and Africa, and was a senior mission advisor for USAID, which essentially has been shut down by the Trump administration. Frank So, welcome to Eye on Northwest Politics.
Thanks for having me here, Ken.
What kind of services does Ecumenical Ministries provide to immigrants and refugees?
Ecumenical Ministries of Oregon, over the last really 50 years, has been providing services to many of the immigrants that have come as refugees and immigrants that have come to work and to really contribute to our state. We provide services from food assistance to legal assistance. And at this point, it is our legal assistance that has been flooded with over 100 calls a day. We serve over 2,500 people a year from over 80 countries as part of our SOAR legal program.
Are there any specific countries where you get more of your clients from?
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen since the end of the Afghan withdrawal, a lot of Afghans, Ukrainians, people that are coming from conflict countries. They're not coming necessarily always as refugees. They're coming here as family reunifications, temporary protected status, and many are coming as asylum seekers.
In April, the Department of Homeland Security announced that your biannual federal grant of $300,000 that you use to help refugees and immigrants get green cards is canceled. How does that affect you, and will you run out of money for those kinds of services?
Absolutely. So the irony in all of this is that while the government wants to ensure that there's a legal process or that individuals are quote unquote here legally, they've pulled the rug from underneath us. The $300,000 grant that we have been receiving since 2010, both Republican and Democrat administrations has helped further the ability for people who seek to become citizens and have been doing so with a legal pathway. So the work that we have been doing, that is not just in Portland, Woodburn, all the way down to Southern Oregon, to have these clinics, is exactly what it means to do work for USCIS. That grant, which was canceled, has severe effects on our ability to continue after 2025.
Border Czar Tom Homan has targeted sanctuary cities for deportation of illegal immigrants. He specifically mentioned Portland as a place where he would come to do that. What's the impact of this rhetoric on the immigrants and refugees that you serve? How are they feeling about all this now?
You know, in speaking with many of the immigrants who have, who are either undocumented or are going through a documentation process right now, they truly feel that they have to isolate. They're scared. They're even scared of taking the legal processes that they have to take, because the rug, again, could be pulled from underneath them. Showing up for a court appearance may be that they're immediately deported, even without presenting their case. So I think there's just a great amount of fear in the community, and that fear will also translate to immigrants who are here, even people who have green cards who seek to get services from our government, or students who need to go to school, or families who need to access a food pantry.
If you're here illegally, shouldn't you be deported?
So first let me just start with the language. I think that there is no such thing as an illegal person. Second of all, if you have come here, there's many people who have come here with a legal status, and that status has been revoked. In this case, we're looking at 8 countries that this administration has decided to revoke temporary status on, for folks that have been here from Nicaragua, from Haiti, from Honduras, from you name it. So I do think if you've committed a crime here in this country, that yeah, there's legal recourse. And in many cases, be it this administration or previous, those individuals that have committed an illegal crime, or a crime that has prompted them to be arrested, should be deported. Now, we've got a lot of people here who are not documented, and I believe those individuals that are working in our state and contributing to our economy, paying taxes, there's nothing illegal about that, not at all.
The president's executive order has the title, Protecting Communities from Criminal Aliens. Now, among the people you see, do you know how many do have a criminal background other than being undocumented?
Yeah, so I can say this much, and that is that the families that we serve, we do not look for their criminal record. The individuals who are asking for our assistance, and again, it's over 100 calls a day, who are trying to apply for a process to stay in the United States in a legal fashion, do not have criminal records. If they did, they would not be eligible for those type of assistance from us.
As I mentioned in the intro, you've worked for the prior administration as a diplomat in several parts of the world, including Africa and the Caribbean. How much does that experience inform what you're doing now with ecumenical ministries?
Yeah, absolutely. So the 12 years I spent at USAID, I spent really working on a lot of these same issues, migration, human rights. And I can tell you, having that perspective from working abroad, there aren't individuals who are coming to the United States because they know it's easy, because they want to be far from their families. It's quite the contrary. They're fleeing a lot of desperate situations, conflict, war, and to be able to understand that context is really important. And it's also the context of which not just this community, but this country was founded on, is immigrants who've come here for a better life, but also to contribute to making these United States a better place.
Ecumenical Ministries has been around for more than 50 years, the organization here in Oregon. How much longer can you survive under the current political situation without more community support?
Yeah, so I think we have been around for the last 50 years. We've been here from the previous Trump administration. We've seen some of the harm that was caused by those unjust policies. We will continue to be here. We may not provide the same level of assistance because of the lack of grants and federal support, but we do believe that this community will come through to support the programs that really do matter. And again, I've seen an outpouring of support from some of our foundations in this state. I know this was a tough legislative session, but we've seen some support from the state legislature. We would love to see more. And another way to do so, Ken, is really to look at what can we do to prevent? We can't just react all the time. We helped introduce Senate Bill 703, which unfortunately didn't pass, but maybe in the future we could see that pass. A bill like that would help us assist more people who are eligible to be in a different type of migratory procedure so that they wouldn't be deported. I mean, this could help 25,000 plus undocumented Oregonians who've married a U.S. citizen, who've been here during an Amnesty Act, to be able to access status and not be deported. So we think moving forward, there still is hope for us to do more work to prevent unjust deportations and do the work that Ecumenical Ministries of Oregon has been doing for the last 50 years.
Frank So from Ecumenical Ministries of Oregon, thank you very much for being on Eye on Northwest Politics.
Thank you, Ken.
We'll be right back. If you want more Eye on Northwest Politics, please check out our new streaming app, Coin Plus. You can find Eye on Northwest Politics on Coin Plus every Sunday starting at 10 a.m. Coin Plus, available on Apple TV, Fire TV, and Roku. Thank you for joining us for this edition of Eye on Northwest Politics. We will see you right back here this same time next week.